Operation Phoenix, Hitler's Last Game. Part 1. The Fall of Berlin. Berlin, April 28, 1945. The city was bleeding. Streets once paved with pride and parades were now shattered ruins, choked with smoke and the scent of finality. Every breath tasted like ash. Every sound echoed with the weight of collapse. Above the Reich Chancellery, the blackened Nazi banners flapped violently in the wind, not as symbols of power, but as torn remnants of a crumbling delusion. Somewhere below, deep beneath layers of concrete and steel, a door creaked open in the Führerbunker, and with it, something ancient was set into motion. I wasn't supposed to be there. Hell, I wasn't even supposed to be alive. My name is Mason Beckett. Back then, I was just a captain in the Office of Strategic Services, OSS, the precursor to what you now know as the CIA. We were the ghosts in the war, the eyes behind the enemy's curtain, the ones who cleaned up messes history wasn't meant to remember. They gave me a name, a file, a one-way ticket into hell. The name was Dr. Friedrich Amsel, SS Sturmbannführer, occult researcher, head of something classified so deep even our own brass barely believed it existed. Operation Phoenix. The file was thin, too thin. Amsel wasn't just another lunatic in a lab coat. He was a surgeon turned mystic, a man with ties to the Annenherb, Himmler's pet project for occult artifacts and pseudoscientific madness. Whispers said Amsel had access to something otherworldly. But that's the thing about whispers in war. Most of them are ghosts pretending to be men, until they're not. I arrived in Berlin 3 days before Hitler's supposed suicide. Undercover, alone, behind enemy lines with a cyanide capsule in my molar and a pistol I'd never get to use twice. The Red Army was closing in. Street by street, block by block, the Soviets were tightening the noose. But Amsel was on the move. According to intercepted transmissions, he had fled the main bunker 2 nights earlier with a unit of 12 Black Sun operatives, elite SS loyal to the occult division, and a single, sealed crate bearing the mark of the Schwarz Sonne. The Black Sun, a symbol even the Nazis feared whispering in full voice. What was in the crate? That was my mission. I had a contact in Berlin, or at least I was supposed to. His name was Felix Bauer, a German-born linguist who'd been turned by British intelligence in '42. Smart, quiet, reliable. Last known location, an apartment above an abandoned bakery on Linienstrasse. So that's where I went. The streets were a graveyard. Tanks rusted mid-turn, their crews long turned to ash. Civilians wandered like wraiths, hollow-eyed, clutching whatever food or memory they had left. I moved in shadows, uniform stripped, wearing a looted Wehrmacht overcoat with forged papers and the steady pulse of paranoia pounding in my ears. I found Felix's apartment just past midnight. The door was ajar. Never a good sign. Inside, the air was thick with silence and burnt paper. I stepped carefully, pistol drawn, eyes scanning. The place had been ransacked, not by looters but professionals. Drawers overturned, floorboards pried open. But they had missed something. In the kitchen, behind a false panel beneath the sink, I found a leather-bound journal. Felix's. The final entry read, Amsel is en route to Toadskeller. The crate is real. God forgive us. If Mason finds this, tell him the Phoenix isn't a weapon. It's worse. And below that, a single word. Wheelsburg. The moment I read it, the hairs on my neck rose. Wheelsburg Castle, a Nazi stronghold in Westphalia, a place soaked in myth, blood, and Himmler's obsessions. I'd heard of it. Everyone in our line of work had. Some said it was the spiritual center of the SS. Others said it was a machine built on ley lines, ancient architecture, and designed not just to worship power, but to generate it. Was Amsel heading there? Why now at the end? And what the hell was Phoenix? I didn't have answers. Just more questions, and 24 hours to live. The Soviets were days, maybe hours, away from leveling the city. If I was going to find Amsel, it had to be now. So I did what I was trained to do. I disappeared. The bunker beneath Berlin was a myth until it wasn't. I found a way in through a collapsed metro tunnel, guided by Felix's map and dumb luck. The air was dense with mold and death. Dead soldiers lined the halls like discarded uniforms. Some had shot themselves, others not so much. But I wasn't here for them. I found the auxiliary exit just after dawn. It had been sealed from the inside, then pried open. Blood stained the threshold. Fresh. Amsel had come this way, and he wasn't alone. The trail led me west, through burning villages, collapsing lines, and abandoned convoys. I moved by night, hid by day, and counted bodies like mile markers. 3 days later, I reached the edge of the Teutoburg forest. That's when I saw it, the convoy. For trucks, SS markings hastily painted over. One covered crate, bolted and bound in chains. And at the front, stepping down from the lead vehicle, a tall man in a black leather coat and round spectacles. Amsel. I knew it instantly. Not from photos, not from files, but from instinct. There was something wrong about him. They set up camp near an old church ruin. I watched from a ridge, hidden beneath brush, rain seeping into my boots. I should have waited, called for extraction, followed protocol. But I've been in this game too long to know when to disobey orders. That night, I crept in. The guards were sharp, trained, but the rain worked in my favor. Thunder covered the cracks of my steps. I reached the edge of the camp, slid beneath a supply truck, and waited. Amsel emerged from a tent near the crate. He held something in his hands, a small, black stone. It pulsed faintly, like it was alive. He muttered in German. Not prayers, not orders, incantations. Then the crate opened. Chains fell away like they'd been cut from the inside. The lid lifted slowly, creaking with age. I couldn't see what was inside, but I felt it. The ground vibrated. The air grew cold. My vision blurred. And for the first time in years, I was afraid. Truly afraid. One of the guards screamed. Then silence. Amsel turned to the others and said just one thing. Der Phoenix ist erwacht. The Phoenix has awakened. And in that moment, I understood. Operation Phoenix wasn't just an evacuation. It wasn't a weapons program. It was a resurrection. That was the night everything changed. For me, for the war, for the world. And this is the part no one ever tells you about. The part history burned. The part they buried in redacted reports and sealed archives. But I was there. I saw it. And now, so will you. Part 2, The Awakening. They say war breaks a man slowly, over time, like rust on iron. They're wrong. Some things break you in a single night. That night, in the rain-soaked woods of Teutoburg, I watched something crawl out of a crate that should never have been opened. I didn't see its face, only a silhouette, tall, thin, unnaturally smooth, like it had been shaped, not born. Its movements were fluid, too fluid, and the moment it stepped onto German soil, the fire in the camp torches turned blue. Blue, like the color of a corpse that's been dead too long. I wanted to run. God knows I should have. But I stayed, because something about Amsel's expression didn't fit. It wasn't awe. It wasn't fear. It was control. He wasn't summoning a demon. He was activating a plan. A second later, everything went to hell. One of the Black Sun guards collapsed, blood pouring from his eyes. No wounds, no sounds, just dropped, like a puppet with cut strings. 2 others followed, then a fourth. But Amsel didn't flinch. He simply held the black stone in his hand and spoke to it. Not at it, to it. The thing, whatever it was, stopped, like a soldier awaiting orders. The rain had stopped falling. The wind had stilled. It was as if the world itself was holding its breath. And then, just as quickly, the lid of the crate closed. The being returned inside. The chains reattached themselves. Yes, you heard me right. The chains moved on their own. That's when I moved. I slipped away from the supply truck, retraced my path back into the tree line, and ran like the devil himself was behind me. Because maybe, just maybe, he was... I needed answers. Fast. And there was only one person I knew who could give them to me. A name I hadn't spoken in years. A ghost from my past. Clara, former German Jewish archaeologist. Brilliant. Banned. Blacklisted. And once, years ago in Prague, the closest thing I had to something almost real. She specialized in esoteric symbology and secret Nazi expeditions. She'd once told me the Ahnenerbe didn't just look for artifacts. They collected blueprints for power. Old ones. Ancient ones. If anyone knew what Phoenix really was, it was her. Finding Clara meant crossing half of a dying country in 2 days. With no backup, no plan, just grit, stolen maps, and the hope she was still alive. By the time I reached the outskirts of Weimar, the world had changed again. Word was spreading that Hitler was dead. Gunshot to the head. Suicide in the bunker. Or so the story went. I knew better, because just before dawn, I intercepted an encrypted radio broadcast bouncing between former SS channels. It was short, broken, but I translated it myself. The Führer's death is irrelevant. The Phoenix Protocol is active. Phase V begins at midnight. Phase 2. Phase 2. What the hell was Phase 1? I reached Clara just before sunset. She lived in a crumbling villa once owned by a Nazi officer. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. She answered the door with a revolver and eyes that hadn't trusted anyone since 1939. It took a second before she recognized me. Then she slapped me. Then she hugged me. Then she made tea. Some things never change. I showed her Felix's journal, the symbol of the black sun, the map, the word Phoenix. She didn't flinch. Instead, she got up, walked to a shelf, and pulled down a dusty, hand-bound ledger. They tried to burn this in 1937, she said. The Vatican wanted it gone. So did Himmler. It talks about the 13th flame. I frowned. What the hell is that? A weapon, she said. Or a god. Or both. Depends who you ask. Then she opened the book to an illustration that made my skin crawl. A winged humanoid, rising from fire, surrounded by 12 other figures kneeling in ash. Beneath it in Latin, Qui ignem novum excita, igni consumetur. He who awakens the new fire shall be consumed by it. Clara explained everything. According to the ancient text, there existed an artifact of unknown origin, said to contain the essence of a forgotten race. A being of pure will, sealed away after a war not written in any human history. Over the centuries, different civilizations had found the crate. Egypt, Babylon, all had tried to control it. All had fallen. And now the Nazis had it. And they called it Phoenix. But Amsel had gone one step further. He wasn't just trying to unleash the entity. He was trying to merge with it. A new Hitler was never the plan. He wanted something worse. A god king with access to ancient knowledge and no concept of human mercy. We had hours. Maybe less. Clara insisted on coming with me. I said no. She said she wasn't asking. So we went. Our destination, Wheelsburg Castle, the true heart of Operation Phoenix, and the place where Amsel planned to complete the ritual or whatever nightmarish version of ascension he had in mind. The castle sat on a hill like it had been carved from nightmares. Black stone, triangular structure, 13 towers, all arranged in a pattern that Clara called geometric sacrificial design. I didn't ask what that meant. I didn't want to know. We arrived under the cover of night. The place was active. Spotlights, generators, dozens of Black Sun soldiers still loyal, still operating under the illusion that the Reich would rise again, this time under something far older than Hitler. We split up. Clara went to find the source of the castle's ancient blueprints. She believed the design itself was part of the ritual. She needed to disable something called the oculus. I went for the crate. The central hall was massive, and there on the marble floor, carved in black obsidian, was a perfect replica of the Black Sun. Above it, the crate, chained, glowing faintly with an inner pulse, and standing beside it, arms wide, voice echoing through the chamber. Amsel. He was no longer a man. His skin had turned translucent, his veins glowing faint orange like molten rock. His eyes were pits of shadow, and when he spoke, it wasn't in German. It wasn't in any human language. It was in something older, something hungry. Then he saw me. "Beckett," he whispered, smiling. "You came to witness the rebirth." "You're sick," I said, raising my pistol. "No," he said. "I'm evolving." The crate began to open. I fired. The bullet hit Amsel in the shoulder. He didn't bleed. He laughed. Then he raised his hand, and the air itself bent around him. I flew backward, slammed into a pillar, and blacked out for 2 seconds. Maybe 10. When I came to, the crate was fully open. The being inside had awakened, and it was beautiful in the most horrifying way. No face, just light, pure raw will. It hovered, silent, watching, waiting. Clara's voice crackled in my earpiece. "The Oculus is powering up. If it completes the circuit, the entity will bond to him permanently. You have 90 seconds. I staggered to my feet and did something stupid. I ran toward the crate. Amsel screamed something. The entity turned. Not toward him, toward me. It saw me. I saw it. And in that brief, impossible moment, I felt everything. Its memories, its hatred, its rage at being used, and somewhere deep inside it a choice. I reached the crate and whispered the words Clara had written for me from the ancient text. Ignum claudite, vinculus eternus. Seal the flame. With eternal chains. There was a sound like thunder being swallowed, and the light vanished. The crate slammed shut. The chains wrapped around it like serpents of steel. Amsel howled, fell to his knees, and began to dissolve. Not die. Dissolve. His form broke apart into black mist, which evaporated into the air. And just like that, it was over. Or so I thought. Clara found me outside, bruised, bloodied, laughing. We burned the castle to the ground. The OSS covered up. The Soviets were told it was just another Nazi outpost. Nothing of value. The crate? It vanished. I never saw it again. Until now. Part 3. The Vault. I used to believe in finality. That some doors once closed stay that way. That if you bury something deep enough, in history, in silence, in ash, it stays dead. I was wrong. Because 8 days ago, a courier from Zurich handed me a box wrapped in wax paper. No return address. No message. Just a single black symbol on the top, the black sun. And inside it a key. Not just any key. The vault key. The one we swore never to use. The one we buried beneath 3 tons of concrete in the Swiss Alps. The one that opens the final chamber of Wilsberg. The one we never entered. Because we were scared. Because even then, after burning the castle, we knew something remained. I hadn't spoken to Clara in 3 years. Not since Buenos Aires. But when I called, she answered on the first ring. "You got the key too, didn't you?" she asked before I even said hello. "Yes," I said. "We have to go back." The train ride into Switzerland felt surreal. Like we were retracing the steps of ghosts. At one point, Clara looked out the window and muttered, "Do you ever wonder if we made the wrong choice?" "No," I said. "We made the only choice. We sealed the monster. Burned the evidence." She turned her head slowly. "Then why is the world still broken?" I had no answer. The vault was buried beneath a remote monastery in the Alps, an old Templar structure later hijacked by the Nazis during their obsession with the occult. The monks were long gone. Now it was just stone, silence, and snow. We descended 132 steps to reach the chamber. I remember because I counted every one, like a prayer or a warning. The vault door stood like a monument to fear. Circular, 6 feet thick, no handed, no writing, only the lock, a 3-pronged mechanism shaped like a triangle inside a sun. I placed the key in. It clicked, then hissed, then the door opened inward, and a gust of warm air rushed out from a room that hadn't been opened since 1945. Something was alive down there. We entered slowly, flashlights on, weapons ready. The chamber was circular, walls lined with strange machinery. Not Nazi tech, not even post-war Soviet or American. It was older, smooth, alien, and in the center, a podium. On it, a journal, bound in black leather, marked with a single letter, A. Clara opened it. It wasn't a book. It was a confession. Amsel's journal. His real journal. Not the copies the Allies recovered. This was different. Darker. The first entry read, "The Phoenix is not a weapon. It is a beacon. It calls to others. It marks the worthy. It teaches and punishes." The next page contained hand-drawn diagrams of what looked like constellations, but not from Earth's sky. Clara's breath caught. "This isn't German. It's Sumerian." "That's impossible," I said. "This predates Sumer." She looked at me. "Exactly." Then we found the message. Carved into the wall, behind the machinery. 3 words, barely visible beneath layers of dust and corrosion. But fresh, recent. Phoenix lives still. Before we could process what that meant, the power came on. No generator. No wires. Just light. And then the voice came. From nowhere. From everywhere. Subject 14, re-entered secure zone. Initiating protocol. Time since last activation. 27 years. Clara gripped my arm. "Did it just say Subject 14? I nodded. And I think it meant me. Then the vision hit. My brain felt like it had been turned inside out. My eyes burned. My skin pulsed. And in that moment, I wasn't in the vault anymore. I was somewhere else. Not a place. A memory. But not mine. I saw stars being born. I saw wars fought in languages I couldn't understand. I saw planets turn to dust. Civilizations choosing extinction over surrender. And at the center of it all, the Phoenix. Not a god. Not a devil. A judge. An ancient entity seated across galaxies. Awakened only when a species reached the threshold of total destruction. To decide, are they worthy or are they done? And humanity? We were next. When I came to, Clara had pulled me out of the vault. We were outside. It was snowing. She looked terrified. "You went still for 6 minutes," she said. "I thought I lost you." I could barely speak, but I managed 4 words. "It's not over yet." That night, we checked into a motel. I didn't sleep. Neither did she. We reviewed the journal again, line by line, trying to decode what Amsel had left behind. One passage stood out. "If I fail to merge, another will try." Phoenix does not choose once. It chooses until accepted. The implications hit us both at the same time. Operation Phoenix wasn't about Hitler. It was never about the war. It was a summoning ritual, a signal, a cosmic audition. And somewhere in the world, someone else had been chosen. Then the news broke. An explosion in the Mongolian desert. Unexplained. No military presence. No radiation. But witnesses reported seeing a figure walk out of the crater. Glowing. Tall. Smooth. Like it had been shaped, not born. Just like the one in Teutoburg. And hours later, the Chinese government went completely dark. Radio silence. No explanation. We weren't dealing with Nazi ghosts anymore. This was bigger. The Phoenix had reawakened. And this time, it wasn't just watching. It was testing us. Clara looked at me across the motel room table. "So what do we do now?" I lit a cigarette with trembling fingers. Now we find the next candidate. Before they pass the test. Part 4. Judgment. People talk about the end of the world like it's some future thing. Something distant. Apocalyptic. Biblical. But the truth is simpler. The end doesn't come all at once. It starts with a single decision. And someone, somewhere already made it. We flew into Mongolia under fake identities. A carvoplane. Dusty. Loud. No questions asked. Clara was quiet the whole way. When we finally landed near the site, the impact crater, we knew we were too late. The Chinese military had already arrived and left. The place was abandoned, but not empty, because something was still there, and it was waiting. We descended into the crater at dawn. Clara held the journal. I held the key. Neither of us spoke. When we reached the center, I saw it. The monument. A perfect obsidian monolith, 12 feet tall, with carvings on each face, none of them human. And a figure, standing in front of it. He turned slowly as we approached. "You're late," he said. He wasn't Chinese or Mongolian. He was American, and I recognized him instantly. Dr. Ezra Crowley. Disawawed Tia Kyoretitsal Plis vanished in 2003. We thought he was dead. Apparently, he'd just been chosen. "I've seen it," he said. "I've felt it. The phoenix doesn't destroy. It tests." And I passed. Clara stepped forward. "What did it show you?" He smiled. "The truth. That humanity doesn't need saving. It needs cleansing. Order. One mind. One purpose. No more war. No more choice." I felt my blood run cold. "You don't want peace," I said. "You want control." "Same thing," he whispered. He held out his hand, and the monolith responded. It hummed, low at first, then deeper, like the earth itself was waking up. "I offer myself," Crowley said, and it accepted. "I'm a phoenix now, the final candidate." "You're not a god," Clara snapped. "No," he said, "just the reset." Then he looked at me. "And you, Subject 14, you were the first, the one who resisted, the prototype." The air shifted. The monolith pulsed with light. Images flickered across its surface. War, famine, riots, mushroom clouds. Humanity, our entire history, on repeat. Crowley turned back to it. "They failed the test. All of them. But we can rewrite it. Start fresh." He placed his palm against the stone, and the sky opened. A beam of white light shot up, piercing the clouds. All around us, the wind died. No sound, no time, just clarity. I heard a voice inside my head. Not Crowley's, not mine, something older. "Do you choose ascension or resistance?" My heart pounded. Clara grabbed my arm. "Don't listen to it. What if it's right?" I whispered. "Then let the world burn. But not like this." I stepped toward the monolith. Crowley turned, confused. "What are you doing?" "Something you never understood," I said. "Choosing." And then I held up the key, the one from the vault, the original failsafe. Carved into its base were 3 hidden words. One's Amsel never shared. "Phoenix reject, override." Crowley screamed. The light changed color, from white to red. The hum became a scream. The monolith cracked, shuddered, and began to collapse inward, imploding. I grabbed Clara's hand, and we ran. As the crater caved in, the entire site vanished into a swirling spiral of dust and heat. And then silence. Later, in a NATO bunker near Geneva, we debriefed for the last time. The world never learned what happened in Mongolia. Official story? A failed weapons test. Unofficial? We failed the test again, but stopped the examiner from rewriting the questions. For now, Clara left the next day. No bouvier. Just a note. Maybe next time we pass. Or maybe we finally stop playing their game. And me? I kept the key, burned the journal. But every night, I wake up at the same time, 3:33 a.m. And every time, I see the same thing in my mind. A circle of light, and a voice whispering in the dark. One more candidate remains.